When I was very young, I was a very innocent boy. I really was. I was very naive.
Anyway,
Stupid is another word for it, of course, but I was. And I used to tell jokes and things. I never saw the implication of them completely. I really didn't. And of course, I was tremendously obsessed with performing and plays and comedy, anything. So I wrote a play. It was called Lord Halliday's Birthday Party. Now, I can't remember much about it except that I'd read books, Agatha Christie and murders, and so everything was in it. Bits of all the books I'd ever read, divorce, everything. And I didn't realise I was supposed to be I was actually avant-garde, way ahead of anybody else. It was a real mishmash of a soap opera it was, but it was very forward, very advanced thinking. I'm telling you, it was considered to be very risque. I didn't intend to be. I just got, things, some books and things I'd read, without realising, I think, the implication of what I was writing about. In fact, my aunt afterwards said to me, you know what you must learn to do? She said, don't write about things you don't understand. You've got to keep to things you understand. Don't write about things you don't understand. You won't get on. That won't help you at all. Write about what you know, or think you know.
Was the play ever put on?
No. Another masterpiece I wrote was called Sweet Fanny Adams. I've never had any ambitions to be Hamlet. Never had a Hamlet complex. I say never, but I mean, after I decided to be, I didn't decide to be a comedian. I tried to be. But no, I went to plays, and I did comedy plays, and I did Charlie's Aunt, and that was successful. And then I did a Moliere play on television. That was The School for Wives, which is a funny play. And this man rang me up and said, we'd like you to do something with the Vic. So I thought, I said, yes, sure. I thought it was Victoria Palace we were talking about. And I said, what is it you want me to do? So he said, A Midsummer Night's Dream. So I said, Midsummer? I said, oh. Well, I said, I suppose I could do it. Because when the character was called Bottom, I couldn't resist. I thought, I must play this part. We rehearsed in this empty theatre, no scenery or anything, no lights much. Very gloomy it was, and I was getting worse and worse with thinking, this is a definite disaster. This is a mistaken judgment to think I could do this. And I couldn't remember the words, it was just awful. And I knew it was awful, and the director, I knew that he thought it was awful, and so did everybody else. Though they were very nice. The Shakespearean actors were very nice to me indeed, coming in from the music halls. And I was one of the very few people to do this. The only other person to my knowledge before this was a man called George Robey. So George Robey played Falstaff in Shakespeare. But I was what's the word, quite something quite different. And they weren't used to it, and I certainly wasn't. Anyway, so I thought, that's it. I'll do this if it kills me. So I came on the opening night. It was a marvellous audience, and I must say, went very, very well. And I was lucky, and I got fortunate. The critics were extremely kind to me. I got a very good press indeed, and I think that they were so surprised that I could actually do it. I mean, not do it well, but just do it at all. Well, that was because I had such a rough time of it in the early 60s, 1960, 61, 59, 60, 61, 62, that I couldn't get in work. I became unfashionable, I suppose. And I lost confidence, and I got very down. And there is an old expression which you've heard, no doubt, never rains, but it pours. And it is often true in life that if one thing leads to another, it's like a vicious circle. You lose your nerve, and then you don't do so well, and then you're not wanted, so you lose your nerve more. Then you don't do so well, it goes on, and gradually you sort of spiral downwards. And it was very strange, if you think that sort of thing is strange, because my mother died. She had been ill. And at the end of this period, this is all the same time, and my mother died. I suddenly thought to myself, I was very, 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 very upset, very distressed indeed. And I remember, and I thought to myself, you know, when you think of it, people are so much more important, friendships. And I thought, does it matter? What's all this nonsense really about show business and fame and one thing and another, and fortunes and fames, when it comes to real realities of people and the things that really matter in life. And I changed a lot then. And strangely enough, to me it was extraordinary, to nobody else. It's of no importance. Other people have no importance whatsoever. But almost within 2 days, the phone rang, which it hadn't been doing, for me to do something on television, be in a television show. It was almost as though I'd sort of, I don't know, it doesn't matter. And then suddenly it started, and back I was again in show business. But this time my attitude was a lot different. It was an avant-garde club where a lot of young people went, a satirical club, I think they used to call it, more or less. And so in a fit of alcohol, because I'd had a drink after all these awards, and I've done my stuff, let's have a drink. I would have agreed to go to the moon. And, next day when I realised what I'd done, then I promised to appear at the Establishment Club, which I thought was completely unsuitable for me. Just a humble comic. And I tried to get out of it. Because I thought, that's stupid. I must have been mad. Particularly when I heard I was going to follow in a comedian called Lenny Bruce. He was a very way out, very alternative comedian, very. I mean, he was, he went into areas where no one dare go, or had never dared go before. And I thought, it would be like the Lord Mayor's show, you know, afterwards. It would be like a drizzle following a typhoon. So I tried to get out of it. Anyway, they said, no, you can't. And my agent at that time, who was a lady agent, said, you can't do that. You can't let them down. You said you do it, and you've got to do it. And yes, ma'am, madam. And I did it. I only did 14, and the reason I didn't do any more was the fact that I didn't want to get... It sounds a bit silly, and it sounds a bit, I suppose, a bit maybe pompous. I didn't mean to be. I didn't want to get typecast as a Roman slave. I didn't want to go on being a Roman slave and never be able to get away from it. Because the things you can do, the amount of jokes you can do with a toga and as a Roman slave is very limited. You can't go on to have a career year in and year out being as a Roman slave. It's difficult to get the jokes. You know?
Do you find it strange that the generation after generation seem to sort of rediscover you? And
didn't you miss a generation then? You meant generation after generation after generation after generation.
What do you want me to do?
It was me and Noah started together more or less. All those animals from the Ark, they used to love me, you know. Especially the goat. We had a goat in one of the series once. Nice goat it was. Poor thing.
What happened to it?
I don't know what happened to it, but I know what happened to all the scenery at it all. There was all this munching going on while we were acting. Everything disappeared. The papers and under the scripts on the thing, and girls' dresses missing bits at the back. He nibbled everything within sight. The scenery, really. That was the door gone. The only thing left on the door was the knob. You couldn't eat that. You know what we asking about the yes. Well, it's very thrilling. I've in the last year or so, 2 years, I've been going around doing a one-man show. I used to do in these variety bills. I used to do the second half of the show, and now I do the lot. And I have enjoyed doing it very much. And I must say, I noticed that the audiences were changing, and a lot of young people were coming. What they responded to, particularly, is these catchphrases which I've done over the years. You know, oh, ladies and gentlemen, oh no, nay, nay, thrice nay, 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 thrice nay, and yea again nay. They fell about this. So I thought, they wanted it, I'd give it to them. So they got it. Oh, they loved. Oh. It was very funny, really, because I've signed a lot. I mean, tries to know I've signed a lot of. There's a lot of artists have autographs in my life. I've learned to spell the name now, eventually. And but put all the best, Frankie Howerd or whatever it is. But these wanted, will you please put to Mum, oh no, Mrs. No, Frankie Howerd, or no, nay, nay, thrice nay. Oh, no, nothing, not all the normal. Or ooh, ah, no, this is it. I thought, how do you spell ooh, ah, no? Anyway, it certainly changed. But it's a thrill. It's a thrill. You were asking me why, or going to, were you not? Or did you ask me why?
No, I didn't. No. Did I ask you why?
Yes, well, you should. Why?
Why?
Why what? Why do they come?
Why?
What do they see in me?
Why?
You've got to ask.
Why?
God only knows. I haven't got a clue. I don't query it, don't question it. Accept it. With gratitude, I don't know why. You tell me. You say you're a fan, which I don't believe for a second. You're only saying that because you think you'll get slung out if you don't.
Why did they turn up?
Why do you say it? Why you?
Well, I think that...
But don't go back to your childhood or your birth and say, I remember seeing you on my cradle. My mother used to rock me to sleep with your records of Three Little Fishes or...
I think they all saw her at Pompeii in the early 70s as teenagers.
Yeah, I suppose teenagers, yeah.
And...
They wouldn't be teenagers, would they? Be young. These are young, aren't they?
Well, about my age.
Yeah, we were talking about 18, 19, 20, that kind of age.
I don't know.
I don't know, does it? Anyway, don't think about it. But I've never met any actor yet, or anybody in the theatre who would recommend it. Ever. I've never met anybody. I was certainly... Everyone tried to put me off. If I ever met anybody, they'd say, oh no, don't do it. It's too hazardous. It's too insecure. And most people will tell young people, think again. It's a tough life. And it's very insecure. I was determined to do it, so I did it. And other people, if they want to do it, they're going to do it. And it's their life. I mean, most footballers want to go on footballing till till they drop, really. Tennis players, the same. People, anybody that likes doing what they do. People need to do what they do. Doctors need to doct. Dentists need to dent, and actors need to act, and writers need to write. It's part of us. We need our needs. So nothing wrong with it. It's essential. Things to do as long as you can, I think. I was very ambitious, to succeed. I wanted to be famous. I don't know why, actually. But I did. And I don't know the actual goal to be famous. I often puzzle out what the goal of being famous actually is, what it does to be famous. I always used to come on as I wasn't with this show at all. I'm not with this lot. Oh no, they're a funny lot. Oh, I keep myself to myself. I think it's best, don't you? You're right. I never actually gave up show business. I mean, I never stopped working, as we say, but it dwindled, let's put it that way. I must say I did enjoy it very much. I did it twice nightly. So it was rather odd to do a nightclub twice nightly, but it did very well. When I was there, playing there, we had a visit from a distinguished gentleman he thought he was distinguished, called Ned Sherrin, who shall remain anonymous. And he engaged me to appear in That Was the Week That Was. So that was my satirical stage I went through then. My technique was to play right against the current trend of attacking them. I used to defend them, which is my defence was a jolly sight worse actually than anybody else's attack, because I would never say a joke about Macmillan to direct. I used to talk about his wife Dorothy. You see, I'd say of course, it's not him. No, it's her. It was fashionable in those days for people who sang to have a accompanist, have a pianist. An awful lot of people sang, stars, and always had their own pianist. And they would perhaps be in evening dress and have a pianist at the piano. And they were always men. Always men. I never ever saw a woman pianist. And so I thought, well, if it is, I'll get a woman. Everybody else has got a straight man pianist. I'll have a comedy lady pianist. Just to be different. I got a tremendous amount of letters, and there were 9 of the 10 out of every 10 liked it very much, and the 10th thought it was the most dreadful thing they've ever seen on television. I mean, I'd love to be the first man to play on the moon. By play, I mean to act, or whatever it is, on the moon. That would be it, but I don't think I'm going to be. This woman opened, and she opened the door, big woman, and she was dressed in a sort of kimono. I said, is it all right to come in here? She said, yes, if you have the yen. So she said, would you care for geisha? So I said, well, if you've got the kettle on. Well, when I came out of the army, I went to agents with the intention of trying to, as we say, go on the stage. I was thin and gangly. And I used to stand there looking stupid and sheepish, you see, and they looked at me and said, what do you do with that? And no good ever. I had a telegram. And the telegram said, we've been let down by somebody at the Stage Door Canteen, this show. Would you come along and do it? And I thought, well, why not? And I went on the stage and I did my stuff. And it went very well. They laughed a lot. And afterwards, a chap came to me and he said to me, he obviously heard this laughter. He worked for a man called Jack Payne. He was an impresario, and he'd been a very famous band leader. He said to me, do you have an agent? So I said, well, I wasn't going to say I was down on the uppers. So I said, no, I said, well, he said, would you like some representation? So I said, all right, yes. What had you in mind? Oh, very grand. It was a good piece of acting, I'll tell you. And he said, what do you think about £25 a week? Which was a fortune in those days to me.